Hi everybody, welcome to Built to Adapt here from SpringOne Platform 2017 in San Francisco. I'm Jeff Kelly, I'm joined by my co-host Kira Byrne, and we're talking today with Pivotal and Accenture. We're joined by Gene Reznik from Accenture, Nick Cayou from Pivotal. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
So, there was some news announced just a few weeks ago, a partnership between Pivotal and Accenture, and I want to get into some of those details. But first, Gene, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role at Accenture? I think most of our audience will be familiar with Accenture, from a global level, but maybe talk a little bit about your role specifically in your group.
Sure. My responsibility at Accenture is really to build out Accenture's next generation ecosystem of partners. Accenture has had a long track record of having successful strategic relationships, and which we built our business and work with our customers. And now as we look into the digital age, it's really figuring out who are going to be the leaders going forward, how do we really start to build both the skills and the practices around that, and really develop what we do, from the biggest companies to even the startups. So I lead something called Ecosystem and Ventures at Accenture, and clearly working with Pivotal and developing our partnership is a very important priority for me and for our organization.
And so you announced something called the Accenture Pivotal Business Group. Again, that was about a few weeks ago. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think when we looked at it, clearly, we're in the business of supporting our customers and what they're trying to execute. And I think it's very clear that digital transformation is top of the list, that software development and software capability is a big underpinning element of that. And we really felt that we needed to work with a strategic partner to help us really bring the best of that capability to our clients. And we felt that Pivotal, based on the success of Pivotal Cloud Foundry, as well as the Pivotal Labs, was really a great partner for us to team with, and really do what Pivotal does well, which is the expertise in this particular area, and then really pair it with the scale and global orientation of Accenture, and really bring this solution and this capability to our clients on a global basis.
And Nick, what's the Pivotal perspective?
Yeah, so from a Pivotal perspective, I think we've reached this threshold with our clients where they're asking for scaled delivery of microservices-based software. And I think Pivotal does a fantastic job at helping clients get in the door and realize value quickly. Our partnership with Accenture extends that ability to scale globally, where we might not have an office footprint, for example, or where we might not have the right skill set. So we're talking about projects that could go 5 to 10 years in length. There's a long tail of transformation associated with them. And that's just not something that we as a company are generally equipped to scale to really service. But Accenture's been doing it for years, and they're the gold standard in this space.
Right. So let's maybe double click a little bit. So tell us how it will actually work on the ground. Is it going to be Pivotal developers training some of the Accenture staff, and then through pair programming, extending that throughout Accenture? How will it actually work?
So there's probably two components to it. There is the studios that we will have in multiple countries, initially starting with several locations in the United States, but scaling from there across Europe and even Asia Pacific. In those locations, they will be initially co-staffed with Pivotal Labs resources and Accenture people working together, leveraging a lot of the methodologies around pair programming, and really subscribing to what's really made Pivotal Labs a very successful organization, and really scaling that in country. Complementing that, Accenture has a very broad and comprehensive global delivery network in India, in the Philippines, and many other parts of the world, and over 40,000 Java developers there already, many of them familiar with Spring and some of the fundamental elements of that. So really leveraging both the onshore presence with Pivotal Labs and joint studios, and then really getting additional scale through the global delivery network.
Great. And getting back to, I guess, the original, the impetus for this partnership and this group, Accenture's been around since, I think, the 1950s, so you've got this great historical perspective. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the changes you were seeing amongst your clients in terms of the things they were looking to do, how they were looking to adapt, that ultimately led to this partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably, over the past 20 to 30 years, I would say the enterprise market has really evolved and really been grounded in large ERP-based packaged software, all really grounded, I would say, under the basic premise of enabling a global operating model, creating standardization, process harmonization, business process reengineering, and really creating what today is, we take for granted, which is a global firm. And I think, the ERP vendors and the CRM vendors were really the underpinning technological enablers of that, and Accenture trained many people and really helped our clients really create that global enterprise. Over the past 5 to 10 years, clearly we've seen digital disruption. We've seen the companies coming out of Silicon Valley, and they're valuing speed and innovation and agility, and they're moving in a very different set of technologies and a very different set of processes. And really, we're sort of in that point where we have both those worlds coexisting, and we're really trying to almost jump technology curves from something that's really been at the core of how our clients have adopted technology to this much more nimbler, agile way of building software at a time where software has really become both a competitive advantage and a great source of differentiation.
So you partner with like 3/4 of the Fortune 500 across 40 different industries. So have you seen variation in the adoption of digital transformation across those different sectors and different regions around the world? And can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think from our perspective, most industries are being digitally disrupted in one way or another, and they're looking to figure out how to really evolve their core propositions and their products in that regard. I think of course we're seeing if you go industry by industry. There's companies that focus on connected services platforms, so if they have product, they're trying to connect them and they're trying to build experiences in a consumer space. We have the whole industrial internet sector, whether that's companies like GE and other industrial giants that are trying to make their technologies more intelligent and use predictive analytics to enable that. In a lot of the consumer-oriented products, the whole omni-channel, multiple ways of engaging with the customers. So I think a lot of them, clearly are looking to build out their digital businesses and looking really to use, the key platforms, and probably as importantly, really create a much more nimble and agile business through that.
And you also announced a partnership this year with Apple,
Yes.
basically harnessing their iOS expertise. So I was wondering if this is something you're looking at doing like with multiple different companies. So basically Pivotal has specific, very specialized technical skills, the same as Apple has very specialized skills in iOS. So is this something you're planning to do like on a larger scale with lots of different partners?
So we really are working through my organization on building Accenture's ecosystem for the digital age. And we're looking at, who do we see as really the companies that are continuing to gain traction. We're seeing Apple making tremendous inroads into the enterprise, and we've been, very active in working with them. We also formed a strategic relationship with Google recently and announced that. And then what we're also seeing is that, there's some common partners, right? So clearly how Pivotal works with Google, how we potentially look at, Apple announced their partnership with GE recently. GE runs on the Pivotal ecosystem. So it really is creating a nice ecosystem for us to really bring to our clients pre-integrated solutions, a common set of reference architectures and capabilities that really enable them. For them, it's all about going faster. And that's really what we're trying to help and help them execute.
And actually, Nick, from the Pivotal point of view, is it mainly then the scale and the global reach of Accenture that allows you to offer something that Pivotal couldn't offer before?
I think it's a couple things. One, it's worth mentioning that Accenture's been on the journey with Pivotal since our inception. So, the very first meeting I had when Pivotal spun out as an entity was actually with one of the managing directors at Accenture,
wow, okay.
A gentleman named Adam Burden, who was in the cusp of building out a Java Spring factory. They've been involved in open source contribution. They joined the Cloud Foundry Foundation, one of the first sort of anchor members. So I think in addition to the scale and reach that we talked about, I think Accenture's really tracked us. In fact, they had Cloud Foundry running in your advanced technology labs in something like 2012, 2011.
So early adopters.
So early adopters developed a point of view on the platform and the language frameworks, have super talented engineers who actually contributed back. They've rotated their architects through San Francisco labs when we were creating and refactoring Cloud Foundry as part of the Dojo program, and continue to innovate in the Spring space. So we like that sort of, the fact that they've been on the journey, they have a discerning eye for disruptive tech, and sort of, get in the boat with you. It's also worth mentioning that Accenture, and they've been public about this, they're running Cloud Foundry internally. So when you talk about firms being digitally disrupted, Accenture's also done labs engagements with us, and they're sort of offering consulting applications to their employees based on some of the joint work that we've done.
So for the first year or two of the group, let's say, like what are your biggest ambitions? What would you like to achieve?
Well, for me, I think it gets down to client success. So we have a number of clients who are on the cusp of really going through, thousands of applications that need to be moved on the platform, and they need to be thoughtfully refactored. So let's take those customers that we've already got in tow, successfully transition them with Accenture onto the platform. And I think it's also building out this core DNA in the offices that we launch in the next fiscal year. So I think we're doing our job well if, as we do with clients, if we've transmitted our sort of culture and our process with high fidelity. And honestly, I think we're most successful if we open an office and can slowly kind of extricate ourselves and have Accenture take over without the customer really feeling a bump.
You're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for us, it's very similar. I think customer success is always a good proof point for whether things are working. So I think we have a number of clients where we're already working together. Our goal is to scale that, right? And we have a very good list of combined organizations. As you can imagine, Accenture and Pivotal have a good overlap of our big relationships. Sometimes Pivotal is working in one part of the organization, Accenture is working in a different part of the organization. So there's common clients, there's common relationships, and I think the customers that really are serious about going on this journey, committing to making the investments in scale, what they're trying to do, I think that's, to me, the metric number one. In parallel, this is all about skills, right? I mean, I think the single biggest thing that I've taken away out of this conference is that there's a lot of demand for strong software engineers on Pivotal Cloud Foundry platform, Cloud Foundry, and I think for us we have Accenture is very good at training and building capabilities, and I think in parallel, both in the geographies that we target, but also in our global delivery network, really getting the scale up so we can deliver on what we continue to see as a pretty big set of demands from our enterprise clients.
Great. Well, I think that's probably a good place to wrap up. I think we're interested in maybe next year this time, we'll have you back on and we'll see the kind of progress you've had, and we'll probably have some great customer stories as well. So Gene, Nick, thanks for coming on, really appreciate it, and thanks for watching.